There comes a moment in life, not marked by birthdays or retirements, but by a subtle shift in rhythm. One day, you reach for a cup of tea a little more slowly. The stairs seem longer than they used to. You forget why you walked into a room, and for the first time in decades, the silence in your house doesn't feel peaceful. It feels loud. But what if this slowing down isn't a problem to be solved? What if it's not a signal of decline, but an invitation, a sacred call from within? Society often tells us to resist aging, to push against every wrinkle, every pause, every quiet moment. But in Buddhism, we are taught something radically different, that when the body slows down, the soul begins to speak. And it doesn't shout. It whispers, gently, patiently, waiting for us to finally have time to listen. Now, some may argue that aging makes us weaker, less capable, even invisible. But others, those who walk the Dharma path, will tell you that this is the season where true clarity begins. Because only when the outer world quiets can we truly hear the inner one. And sometimes what the body can no longer carry, the heart has already understood. In today's reflection, we're not going to talk about fighting time. We're going to talk about befriending it. We'll explore what truly happens when the body slows down, not just physically, but spiritually. What are the hidden gifts in that slowness? What truths rise to the surface when we're no longer distracted by speed? This isn't about denial or sugarcoating. It's about seeing this chapter of life, not as the closing act, but as the opening of a deeper, richer inner world. So if you've ever sat alone with a quiet ache in your chest, or felt like time is leaving you behind, stay with me. Let's begin this journey inward, where your soul has been patiently waiting for you all along. 1. The wisdom hidden in fatigue. When tiredness is not just physical, there comes a season in life when the tiredness we feel isn't just in the muscles. It's not just from walking up the stairs or carrying groceries or bending to tie a shoe. No, this is a different kind of tiredness. Quieter, heavier, deeper. It settles into the bones, but it begins somewhere far less visible. It begins in the heart. It begins in the soul. And yet, how often do we dismiss it? I'm just getting old, we say. Or, it's normal to slow down. We pop vitamins. We push ourselves to stay busy, stay strong, stay relevant. But what if this tiredness isn't something to fight off or medicate away? What if it's something sacred? What if it's the soul's way of finally asking for our attention? In Buddhist philosophy, fatigue, both physical and emotional, is not always a problem to be solved. Sometimes it is a signal, a whisper from the deepest part of ourselves that says, "You've done enough. Now it's time to listen." You see, the body may slow down with age, but the soul finally begins to speak louder. Why? Because now there's space. Space in the calendar, space in the house, space in the silence of early mornings and long afternoons. And in that silence, if we are brave enough not to fill it, something begins to stir. Old memories, old questions, old parts of ourselves we had to set aside to survive. Take Mr. Allen, a retired mailman I once met at a Buddhist retreat. For nearly 40 years, he delivered letters rain or shine, never missed a day. He took pride in his endurance. But when he retired, something strange happened. I couldn't get out of bed, he confessed. Not because I was sick, but because I didn't know who I was without the root. That stillness, that tiredness, scared him at first, until he stopped resisting it, until he started to sit with it, breathe through it. That's when, in his words, a different kind of energy came through, not in my legs, but in my heart. The Buddha once said, "Rest is a form of spiritual practice, not laziness, not giving up, but rest that is intentional, compassionate, and listening." When we stop seeing tiredness as weakness, we begin to understand it as wisdom, a call inward, not to do more, but to feel more, to remember, to release. So if your body asks you to slow down today, honor it, not with guilt, but with grace. That stillness might just be the doorway to your next awakening. 2. Letting go of the doer and meeting the being within. All our lives, we are taught to do, to produce, to accomplish. From the first report card pinned to the refrigerator, to the career titles we wore like armor, to the endless to-do lists that once filled our days, we are shaped to believe that doing equals value. That motion means meaning, and so we keep going, even when the body whispers otherwise. But then one day the going gets harder, the steps get slower, the calendar gets emptier, and suddenly the silence is not golden. It's unfamiliar, unsettling even. Because for so long we've been the doer, and now, who are we? Buddhism offers a radical and tender insight here. Your worth was never in what you did. It was always in who you are beneath the doing. The Buddha did not ask us to achieve. He asked us to awaken, and awakening rarely comes when we're rushing from task to task. It comes in stillness. It comes when we are quiet enough to hear the soul, which has patiently waited through decades of distraction, noise, and duty. It comes when we stop asking, "What can I do today?" and begin asking, "What is this moment asking of me?" There's a beautiful story from a monastery in Thailand. An elderly monk had stopped participating in the daily chores, sweeping the grounds, washing the bowls. A young novice, perhaps frustrated, asked him, "Why don't you help anymore?" The monk smiled gently and replied, "I am helping. I am practicing being." The novice didn't understand. Not then, but years later, when he too grew older and quieter, he remembered. To sit with your breath and notice the way it enters and leaves, that is being. To feel the warmth of sunlight on your face and not rush indoors, that is being. To recall a memory not with regret, but with gratitude, that is being. You see, as the body slows down, it's not the end of usefulness, it's the beginning of presence. In Western culture, retirement often feels like being put out to pasture. But in Buddhist thought, slowing down is a gateway to wisdom, a chance to shift from doing to dwelling, dwelling in awareness, dwelling in compassion, dwelling in this moment as it is. So if today you find yourself unable to do as much as you once did, don't despair. You are not becoming less. You are being invited to become more present, more connected, more whole. The doing may lessen, but the being, the being deepens. 3. The quiet return of forgotten feelings as the world outside grows quieter. When the children have grown, the house no longer echoes with footsteps, and the days stretch out in soft stillness. Something curious begins to happen inside. Feelings long buried start to surface. Memories you thought were gone return, not always sharply, but like shadows flickering across an old wall. Some bring warmth, others ache. It is in this slowness that the soul, no longer drowned out by the noise of busyness, begins to speak. Sometimes it whispers of losses never grieved. Sometimes it brings up longings you silenced because life simply didn't allow for them then. And sometimes it surprises you with a sudden swell of joy from something as simple as the sound of wind in the trees or the sight of a bird resting outside your window. In Buddhism, we call this pa, the ripening of past actions and feelings. Just as fruit matures with time and sunlight, our emotional seeds, whether planted in joy or sorrow, come to bear fruit in the stillness of age. It's not a punishment, it's a gift. The soul, having waited so long, finally gets the room to breathe. But this isn't always easy. You may find yourself suddenly remembering something painful from 30, 40 years ago, the friend you never reconciled with, the parent whose love you always hoped for, the child you worried over in silence. And you might ask, why now? Why is this coming back when all I want is peace? The Buddha reminds us, nothing ever goes away until it has taught us what we need to know. These feelings arise not to torment you, but to liberate you. They surface not to haunt you, but to heal you. When the body slows, the heart has a chance to finally be heard. Let me share with you a story, a true one. An elderly woman named Mabel, now 84, once told her meditation teacher, "I thought I came here to learn peace, but instead, all I feel is regret." Her teacher gently held her gaze and said, "Then that is where your peace begins." So Mabel sat with her regret. She breathed into it. She cried some days, laughed on others, and slowly the regret softened. Not erased, but understood. And with that understanding came the very peace she'd been seeking all along. This is what spiritual maturity looks like. It's not perfection, it's presence. It's the willingness to feel, to forgive, to befriend your own story, even the parts you once wanted to forget. So if you find yourself visited by old emotions or haunted by what-ifs, take heart. You are not falling apart. You are opening. And just like a lotus that blooms only in still waters, your soul, in the gentle quiet of age, is beginning to unfold. 4. Listening to the body as a spiritual practice. For much of our lives, we treat the body like a tool, something to push, to bend, to discipline into doing what we want. We work long hours, skip meals, ignore pain, and hush exhaustion with a cup of coffee or a forced smile. The body becomes something we command, often without kindness. But with age, that dynamic quietly begins to change. The body slows. It doesn't obey as swiftly. It tires more easily, forgets names, stiffens without warning. And for some, this feels like betrayal. "I used to do this so easily," we hear ourselves say, sometimes aloud, sometimes in silent frustration. But what if this slowing down is not a failure, but an invitation? In the Buddhist tradition, the body is not seen as separate from the mind or soul. It's a sacred vessel, a site of awareness. The Buddha often instructed his students to practice kayagata sati, mindfulness of the body, as a gateway to spiritual awakening, because the body is always here, always honest. Unlike the mind, which can spiral into the past or race into the future, the body lives only in the present moment. And when it speaks, through fatigue, through pain, through breath, it's not just complaining, it's communicating. Let's look at an example. Richard, a 76-year-old former engineer, once saw his body's decline as a problem to solve. Each new ache was a puzzle, each slowdown a design flaw. But after a minor stroke, he began practicing walking meditation, slowly, silently, barefoot in the garden behind his house. At first, it frustrated him. He wanted to move faster, to be efficient. But eventually, as he softened, he began to feel each step, each shift of balance, as a prayer. Not a mechanical movement, but a kind of sacred presence. He said, "Now when I walk, I'm not going anywhere. I'm just arriving, in this moment, in this body." When you begin listening to your body, not with annoyance, but with reverence, a whole new dimension of life opens. The ache in your knees becomes a reminder to pause. The shortness of breath urges you to slow down and really feel the breath, that invisible gift we so often take for granted. The need to rest becomes not laziness, but wisdom. In Buddhist philosophy, suffering often arises when we resist what is, when we argue with reality. This shouldn't be happening, we say. But in learning to listen to the body, not as a failing machine, but as a wise friend, We practice acceptance, not as resignation, but as deep understanding. This practice isn't only about avoiding stress or injury. It's about creating space for compassion. Every time you stretch slowly, every time you choose rest over rushing, every time you breathe with awareness, you are turning ordinary moments into sacred rituals. You are turning your own aging into a path of awakening. So the next time your body says, "Enough," listen, not with annoyance, but with gratitude, because the body that now slows you down may be the very thing teaching you how to truly live. 5. The gentle power of letting go. There's a quiet dignity that comes with letting go. Not the kind of letting go we're used to, not giving up, not quitting, but the letting go that opens the hand and frees the heart. And as we grow older, this kind of surrender isn't just a spiritual idea. It becomes a daily necessity. In the early years, we strive, we build, we hold on to our roles, parent, partner, professional, to our identities, strong, capable, independent, and to our routines, the things we think define us. But with time, some of those roles fall away. Our children grow up and no longer need us in the same way. Our bodies no longer allow us to move or produce at the pace we once did. Our place in the world shifts, and if we're not careful, this shift can feel like a loss, like we're being erased. But Buddhism invites us to see this moment differently. Letting go is not a step back, it's a step inward. It's not a defeat, it's a return to our essence, to what's real beneath the noise of achievement and obligation. The Buddha taught that clinging to youth, to identity, to control is one of the roots of suffering, and yet we all do it, because letting go feels scary. Who are we if we are no longer needed every day? Who are we when we slow down? Let me tell you about Maria. She was a devoted mother of 5, the kind of woman who never sat still. Her hands always busy, her mind always full. Shopping lists, grandchildren, prayer circles. But after turning 80 and following a fall that left her needing help for the first time in decades, she found herself sitting alone. Often, she said the hardest part wasn't the pain, but the silence. I didn't know who I was if I wasn't doing something for someone else, she confessed. At first, the stillness felt unbearable, but over time, something curious happened. She began journaling. She started lighting a candle in the early morning and simply sitting with her tea. She began writing down memories, prayers, little pieces of wisdom she'd never had time to reflect on before. One day she smiled and said, "I thought I was becoming less, but it turns out I'm becoming more, just inwardly." This is the power of letting go. When we stop clinging, we don't become empty. We become clear. We don't disappear. We distill. Letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop carrying what was never meant to be ours forever. We allow others to take their turn. We release the need to prove anything. And in doing so, we create space for peace, for presence, for truth. In Buddhist meditation, there's a practice called anatta, the contemplation of not self. It's not about losing your identity. It's about recognizing that what you truly are isn't limited to your roles, your achievements, your youthful body, or even your thoughts. You are something deeper, something timeless. So if you find yourself letting go of the old rhythms, the old roles, the old expectations, don't fight it. Welcome it. This isn't the end of usefulness, it's the beginning of meaning. And when you no longer have to hold everything, your soul finally has space to rise. So here we are, at the quiet end of our journey, and perhaps the beginning of yours. We've explored what happens when the body begins to slow, not as a tragedy to be pitied, but as a sacred unfolding. We've reflected on how silence, once feared, can become our clearest teacher, how slowness, once seen as limitation, can lead to a richer kind of seeing, how the rhythms of aging, the aches, the quiet mornings, the empty chairs, are not signs of a life closing, but of something deeper opening. We spoke of presence, how, without the clutter of busyness, we finally hear what truly matters. We spoke of grief and how it breaks us, not to ruin us, but to reveal us. We spoke of memory and how looking back, tenderly and truthfully, can help us walk forward with grace. And we spoke of letting go, not to give up, but to become lighter, freer, more attuned to the moment at hand. If you felt that the slowing down of your body has distanced you from the world, I hope this reminded you your soul is closer now than it's ever been. So let me ask you this: what is your soul whispering now that you can finally hear? Is there an old sorrow asking to be healed? A dream that never had space to bloom? A truth you've long known, but only now can name? You've given so much to the world. Perhaps now it's time to give something to yourself. Not material things, but time, stillness, compassion, attention. Perhaps now is the time to sit quietly with a cup of tea and ask your heart, what is it you still wish to say? Remember this: you are not fading. You are ripening. You are not less needed. You are more essential than ever, not for what you do, but for who you are when you are simply being. And if these reflections spoke to you today, even just a little, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Quiet Wisdom was created for moments like this, for people like you, people who are ready to listen more deeply, to feel more fully, to live these final chapters, not with fear, but with fierce, gentle clarity. So join us. Let's walk this path together, and until next time, take it slow, take it inward, and let your soul speak.